You ever notice how trouble doesn't knock on the front door anymore? It just shows up with a clipboard and a smile that looks more like a warning than a greeting? That's exactly how it started for Hank Walker, a man who'd spent 60 years on the same patch of land, raising cattle, fixing fences, and minding his own business. He wasn't looking for a fight, but sometimes a fight finds you anyway. That morning was quiet, too quiet actually, just the way Hank liked it. Sun barely over the hills, coffee still hot, old hound dogs stretched out on the porch. Then 3 strangers walked up the gravel path. One woman in pressed khakis and pearls that looked way too polished for ranch country, and 2 fellas behind her carrying a tape measure and a clipboard. She planted herself at the bottom of Hank's porch like she owned the place and said with this little smirk, "We're here to conduct an inspection under Section 14C of the Neighborhood Improvement Mandate." Now Hank just stared at her, slow sip of coffee, no rush. "Ma'am," he said real calm, "you got about 5 seconds to get off my porch before I turn that clipboard into target practice." The 2 men shifted like they weren't sure if he was kidding. The woman, though, let's call her Marla, didn't even blink. She'd dealt with pushback before, you could tell. Thing was, she didn't realize Hank wasn't just cranky. He was furious in that quiet, steady way that means something's about to break. His granddaughter, Ellie, peeked from the window with her phone already rolling, live streaming before Marla even finished her second sentence. Ellie knew the signs. Hank's jaw tight, breath through the nose, boots creaking as he stood. Trouble had officially stepped foot on Walkerland. Marla raised her brows like she was explaining bedtime rules to a child. Your fence is non-standard height. Your water troughs aren't registered, and there are unapproved crops in your field. We're simply following protocol. Hank tilted his head. Protocol? You're 3 miles outside of town limits. There ain't no protocol out here. She gave this little laugh, smug, sharp. Not yet. We're expanding. Ellie stepped out onto the porch. Phone still up. Say hi to the internet, she said, and that rattled Marla just a little. Hank walked straight down, plucked the clipboard out of the man's hand, and tore the paper in 2. That's destruction of notice, Marla snapped. That's litter, Hank shot back, dropping the pieces at her feet. Now get off my land before I call somebody who don't need a clipboard to handle business. The 2 men practically bolted. Marla stayed long enough to wave a laminated sheet in Hank's face, claiming it was a legal order. He stapled it upside down to his fence post and muttered, "Now it's art." By the time she stormed off, Ellie's video already had 1,000 views. Comments poured in, people calling Hank a legend, begging for more footage, even asking where to buy him a beer. Hank didn't care about internet fame, but he knew one thing. Folks with clipboards rarely stop at one visit. And he was right. See, Marla wasn't just some random neighbor. She ran a self-styled community board. Looked official enough on paper, but in reality, it was just her and a couple friends with nothing better to do. She wanted Hank's land inside her little fiefdom, and she wasn't about to let an old rancher stand in the way of her expansion dream. By nightfall, she drafted new maps, moved boundary lines, printed notices that looked official but weren't worth the ink. She figured Hank was too old, too rural, maybe too stubborn to understand legalese. But she didn't know Hank kept every deed, every zoning map, every letter from the county in a fireproof box under his bed. He wasn't just some old man. He was a veteran of both wars and paperwork. The next day, a drone buzzed low over the pasture. Hank didn't hesitate. He grabbed a tarp, swung it like a bullfighter, and brought the thing down in the dirt. Inside, camera still rolling, scanning his fences, his barn, even the keypad lock. She ain't negotiating, Hank muttered. She's gathering ammo. Ellie posted the footage. Sheriff Cole dropped by later, half joking. Please tell me she didn't hire a blimp. But his tone turned serious when he saw the surveillance card. She's skating the edge of the law, Hank. Just don't shoot anything that beeps unless it fires first. Not long after, a black pickup rolled up with 2 men in knockoff uniforms. Jackets with patches that said compliance security. They tried to unlatch Hank's gate, talking about authorized inspections. Hank warned once, twice. They kept going. That's when Duke, his old hound, charged up snarling, stopping an inch from the guy's boot. Ellie caught it all on video. Title went up within minutes. HOA thugs meet Grandpa's gatekeeper. It blew up online. Animal lovers, veterans, farmers, everyone rallied. The ranch wasn't just a ranch anymore. It was a symbol. But Hank stayed calm. Internet praise doesn't reinforce fences. He spent evenings double-checking locks, adjusting hinges, pulling out decades-old survey maps stamped with county seals. They don't stop when they're wrong, he told Ellie. They stop when they're forced to. Sure enough, round 3 came hotter. Marla rolled up with 2 men in real county jackets this time, carrying what she claimed was an administrative order. Hank asked plain and simple, "You got a warrant?" They shoved paper at him. Ellie read it out loud. It was nothing more than a self-written permission slip. Marla smiled, thinking she had him cornered. That's when Hank leaned in close. "You really thought I'd fall for this garbage? You're on my land, without legal cause, and my sheriff's on speed dial." Ellie hit send on a pre-typed text. Within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. Marla's smug grin vanished. Sheriff Cole pulled up, stepped out calm as Sunday church. He didn't ask what happened. He'd been watching Ellie's live stream. He looked those men dead in the eye. "That's not a warrant. Boys, that's a flyer. And you're not code enforcement. You're private contractors with no standing out here. Which means you're trespassing." Marla stammered about signatures and plans, waving her folder like a sword. Cole cut her off cold. "Your board isn't recognized by the county. In fact, we're investigating whether it even exists. You're looking at citations for impersonation, forgery, maybe surveillance violations. Best pray this doesn't land you in court." Marla's SUV door slammed, gravel flying as she sped off. The fake officers slunk away quieter, tails tucked. Ellie's live stream hit 6,000 viewers before they even cleared the driveway. That night, Hank sat on his porch, Duke at his feet, Ellie scrolling through endless comments. Neighbors dropped pies, thank you notes, even old deeds asking for help. The man never asked for a fan club, but one found him anyway. He just muttered, "I've fought off droughts, locusts, taxes, and lawyers. This ain't the first, won't be the last." See, for Hank it was never about internet points. It was about principle. Land wasn't just dirt, it was memory, sweat, family. And when someone tries to stake claim with fake authority, well, that's just trespassing with a necktie. Weeks later, Marla resigned from her committees under pressure. Whether it was guilt, shame, or just fear of lawsuits, no one knew. She left a notarized letter on Hank's fence post, saying she was wrong. Hank never read it aloud, never gloated. He just shook his head and went back to tightening hinges on the gate. And here's the part that stuck with me. Hank didn't celebrate. He didn't brag. While the internet debated heroes and villains, while neighbors painted murals of him and Duke guarding the gate, Hank just kept walking the fence line every evening like he always had. Because in his world, peace wasn't something you posted about. Peace was something you protected day after day, even when no one was watching. Now folks still argue about it. Was Marla really the villain, or was she just blinded by ambition, thinking progress meant pushing old-timers aside? Some say she got what she deserved. Others wonder if communities need people like her to shake things up, even if she went too far. Hank never joined those arguments. He said, "You don't need a badge to protect what's yours. Just boots, a backbone, and a dog that won't blink when things get loud." So what do you think? Was Hank right to stand his ground the way he did? Or should he have played along with Marla's game and fought her in court instead? Have you ever seen a neighbor push their authority past the line? Drop your thoughts down below, because this story ain't just about one ranch or one fight. It's about what happens when paperwork meets principle and which one you think should win.